hope you are all having a fantastic day and week. We have a very exciting episode for you today. We did that poll recently, and we know a ton of you are into true crime, as are we.
Yes.
So we researched our little heinies off and found a couple of very, very exciting stories for you.
And I don't think you've probably heard of them.
Mm-mm.
The one that I'm doing is actually in Illinois, and you had never heard of it.
Oh, I didn't know it was from Illinois.
Yes.
Interesting.
So I'm excited.
Mine's from Canada, eh?
Canada.
I know. I feel like a lot of my stories, I don't remember, I think last week or the last time we recorded, a lot of mine were from Canada also. So apparently Canada has got a really creepy vibe up there that
Dark
I had.
side.
I thought they were so sweet. No, they are very sweet and friendly. I love Canada and I want to visit someday, but
Yes.
love all the stories that we're getting from there.
Yes.
So how was your time off?
It wasn't bad. Jack had his last week of preschool this past week. And so he had like his little graduation, even though he's not technically graduating, you know. So that was fun. But then the next day, a stomach virus hit. And I'm 15 weeks pregnant at this point. So the last thing I want is a stomach virus.
Oh, I didn't know you got it too. Oh,
No, well, I didn't.
Oh, good.
That was the amazing thing. I wore gloves and a
Yes.
face mask, and I cleaned everything he touched. And I did so many loads of laundry. It was insane. But somehow I did not catch it. So
Good.
yes, that was awesome. And then yesterday I got a new to me dryer. My old dryer was taking like 4 cycles to dry the dang clothes. And now it's like 1 cycle and it sings to me at the end. I'm so happy.
Ours does that also.
I love it.
We used to have a dryer. This is just a random little tidbit. Speaking of dryers, we had one. It was Ryan and my first apartment together.
Uh-huh.
Okay, we lived in the crappiest duplex. So we were in an old building on the top floor, probably haunted. And then there was somebody below us, and then we shared a basement. And my dryer would take like 4 cycles to dry.
Oh my gosh, it's the worst.
And you know what? We each had our own sets of dryers. They used to use our washer and dryer.
Why?
Isn't that crazy? So I would go down there to do our clothes, and like I would have to like pull out her like wet underwear and like all this stuff. And I was like, so I wrote like all these passive aggressive notes under their door saying like, could you please not use our dryer?
Just use hers.
Yes. Oh, anyway.
That's crazy.
Random little side note. Yeah.
Well, how was your time off?
It was good. I had a beautiful, sweet Mother's Day. I love Mother's Day. It was nice. So spent that with the family and my parents, and I killed Jimmy. Speaking of true crime.
What?
My hanging plant in my dining room.
Oh, I forgot you had one named Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy died.
I was like, who is Jimmy? What have you done, Rachel?
Him. So I got a new plant. I feel like I can't go a week without talking about my plants.
It's a new phase for you for sure.
It is. And it, honestly, like all my phases probably won't last forever, but right now I'm real into it.
It's inspiring. I am a black thumb, so
I used to be.
The only thing I can grow is weeds.
Aw. All right. Oh, social media. As always, please follow us on all of our social platforms. Help us to grow and help us to get our scary family out there. And, we would do this if nobody listened, but it does give us a lot of incentive when we know other people are sharing in on
and enjoying it.
Yeah. So we can't grow without your help. And we would really appreciate it if you followed us on Instagram, which is Good Luck Sleeping Podcast, on the Twitter, which is GL Sleeping, and on our Facebook group, which is the Good Luck Sleeping Podcast.
And it's coming up very close to 100 groupies, which we're super excited about. So please share the Facebook group at least, because I think that's where the majority of the community is. So that we can get some more input and see what you guys are enjoying, what you're liking and wanting to hear. So
yes. And there's that little invite button on there. Mm-hmm. All you got to do is click it and invite your friends. We would really appreciate that. And send us your stories. We are for sure doing a listeners stories episode next week. Yes. And I think we have quite a few, but we could use a few more, and we could use more just to collect over time to do, stories in the future, episodes with your stories in the future. So if you could please send your stories in to goodlucksleepingpodcast@gmail.com. We would really appreciate that.
And I think it could be kind of cool. Like, I know some of you may not have had paranormal story experiences. That's totally fine. Probably even better for you. But I know some people have had some true crime experiences, maybe close kidnappings or, you know, something that happened to you that you'd like to share. Hopefully not terrible. But if you would like to send those, we'd like to share those as well. So if you have a listener story along the true crime line, please send those to goodlucksleepingpodcast@gmail.com as well.
Yeah, let's get a good collection going so that we have, stuff to go on for many episodes to come. Because they are my favorite, actually.
Yes.
I love hearing other people's experiences. Kaila is going to start us off, and I am excited to hear what her story is all about.
Oh my gosh, you guys. So I thought I had my story picked out days ago. And then, as one does, I was laying down trying to fall asleep, looking up true crime. And this article came out of nowhere. And I thought, that's really interesting. It's super late though. I'm going to get up tomorrow. I'm going to look at it. Got up. And literally for the last 3 hours, I have been doing nothing but researching because nothing is compiled in one place. This is an unsolved crime. And everything is everywhere. And I compiled my own article, so to speak, to kind of show you all the evidence and help you decide who you think the killer is. So
research in the future, when people are looking at this case, they'll just come to our podcast.
I am ready to go to court and prosecute.
I'm so down for that.
I am mad that this person has not been put in jail yet. And I think you'll agree with me.
Okay. All right. Get into it. I'm excited.
Okay. So everybody's heard of the Laci Peterson case.
Yes.
Which, she was 8 months pregnant, disappeared, and I think her husband is in jail for her murder.
Yes.
Okay. Well, there is also a Stacy Peterson that went missing. So
I don't want that last name ever.
Right?
Yeah.
Craziest thing. This is like a total side note. Her daughter's name is Laci Peterson.
Oh gosh.
Okay. So anyway, I'm going to try not to read what I wrote, but there were some parts that I'm going to have to read word for word because it's so important. So
yeah, no, I get that.
All right. In late October 2007, cities and towns around the country were all tricked out in Halloween decorations. Up and down the neighborhoods, families prepared for Fright Night. But this year, the village of Bolingbrook, a Chicago suburb, was plunged into a real-life mystery far more chilling than any Halloween haunting could ever be. On October 28th, Stacy Peterson, 23 years old, wife, mother, sister, suddenly vanished. She went missing and is yet to be found. So that's the beginning. I know. Okay, so she was born in Downers Grove, Illinois in 1984.
That's close. That's very close
Is
to where
it?
I was. Yeah.
Is it?
Uh-huh.
I was going to ask you. I
Yep.
was like, this is in Illinois? Okay, so she was born to Christy and Anthony Kales. Tragically, two siblings that were born before her had passed away. One was in a house fire, the other from sudden infant death syndrome.
Oh, jeez.
So it seemed like her life already had some chaos in it. She was just kind of born into chaos. Yes. In fact, in spring 1998, her mother disappeared and was never heard from again. They still don't know what happened to her. If you look up Christy Kales, it says that she was involved with drugs, possibly neglectful and abusive, but no one knows what happened to her. She was destroyed by the deaths of her two children and very depressed. So it kind of makes you wonder, did she commit suicide? Or at the time, she had divorced Stacy's father, Anthony, and she was living with some boyfriend, so they don't know if he murdered her. Either way, Stacy had a rough upbringing.
Oh, yeah. Geez.
So this was in 1998 when her mother disappeared. So that would make her, 12 years old?
Math.
I think it's 12 years old.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then where our story really begins. In 2001.
She would be older than 12. I think she would be 14.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, I just wanted to we don't know history, but we can skirt by
I can't do math either, okay? I'm good at English. That's about the only subject I can do well.
So 14-year-old Stacy. All right.
14-year-old. Okay, so no, it actually goes a little further. 2001, Stacy worked as a nighttime front desk clerk at a Bolingbrook hotel. She was 17 years old. Okay. Just remember that. 17 years old.
Okay.
One night, she met Drew Peterson, a 47-year-old Bolingbrook police officer.
Oh my gosh. Our two stories have something in common. Keep going.
And they began dating, despite the fact he was currently married. I want to know, when was it made illegal to date somebody under the age of 18?
Hasn't it always been?
I thought so. But No, apparently not. This was 2001.
Well, people, I feel like, don't always care about that law. So it could definitely have been illegal.
But I mean, this was a very public thing. He was a very well-respected police officer. Like, it was out there.
Oh, he was a police officer.
Yeah, that's what Bolingbrook police officer.
Okay. Oh,
and they began dating, despite the fact he currently was married. Okay.
Okay.
So he had a nice house in the suburbs. He had tons of money. I think he bought her a car. So obviously he was like showering her with all these gifts. So she was smitten. Mm-hmm. Her family, however, was not smitten. Not only was he married, he was on his third wife. He had 4 children from previous marriages, 2 of which lived with him. They just didn't understand what she saw in this guy. So then in 2003, his divorce from his third wife, Kathleen Savio, came through, and Stacy promptly married him.
Ugh.
I know. Shortly before his divorce, he and Stacy had their first child together. And I think he even did some kind of like special divorce where she could be on his health insurance, even though he was still married to Kathleen. It was crazy. So she had their first son, Anthony Peterson, or their only son, Anthony Peterson. And then later she would have a daughter, Laci Peterson, which is so ironic to me.
Yes.
She seemed to be living the life. She was a great mom, a great wife, happy with everything. She was about to take her daughter, Laci Peterson, on her first Halloween trick-or-treat. She was 2 years old at the time. But 3 days before Halloween, on October 28th, 2007, she supposedly left her husband and ran away with another man, never to be seen again.
Okay.
So they had barely been married for 4 years when she supposedly left him. Everything had seemed fine. Or had it? Stacy's stepsister said that they started out fine, but ended up fighting often. Friends and family claim the two fought constantly, that Drew criticized her so constantly that she had actually had a few plastic surgeries. So remember that.
Okay.
Because there's actually an interview later with him talking about that, and I found it really interesting. Okay, so she had plastic surgeries to placate him. Not only that, she did say that Drew had gotten physical with her, too. Her stepsister begged her to leave him when she heard of the physical abuse, but Stacy was terrified to. On several instances, Drew had even picked her up and thrown her across the room. Drew Peterson worked the night shift, and he would constantly check in on her every hour. So he would go to work, come home after an hour, have dinner, go back to work, come home, check in on her, go back to work, all night long.
What a psycho.
Yes, okay. Sometimes he would even follow her when she left the house and track her phone when he couldn't follow her. She had gone to breakfast with her sister on several occasions, and he would just circle the restaurant to make sure it was just her. And no men. At one point, she even discovered her entire phone records in his briefcase.
Okay.
This is painting a bad picture of him, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He's a jerk.
Yeah. He's a little bit of little possessive.
Yeah. Drew Peterson, however, denied all of these allegations and insisted that he loves Stacy. And according to him, whatever Stacy wanted, she got. But Stacy was telling other people a different story. Now, how, after hearing what you're about to hear, I don't know how people did not advocate for her before she disappeared. This makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
Okay, so on October 17th, before she disappeared, she sent an email to her friend saying, I am finding the relationship I am in somewhat controlling, manipulative, and somewhat abusive.
Okay.
That's written evidence. Okay.
Yes.
October 18th was their anniversary, and he gave her a new diamond ring, which she happily showed off. It didn't seem that she thought he was trying to buy her, nothing like that. They acted normal. October 19th, she met her friend Scott at a restaurant.
Oh, a man.
Yes, and Scott claims that they had flirty text exchanges, but they were nothing more. Still, it's a little weird because Drew does say that she left him, supposedly.
Okay.
So while she was at the restaurant with Scott, Drew shows up and says, how would you feel if your wife went off with another guy? And then he continued to sit with them for 15 to 20 minutes just staring at her.
Oh. Awesome.
Right? Which, I mean, she could have been flirting with this other man, but still, that didn't give him a right to do all the stuff he did up to that, following her and crap.
Well, he apparently probably pushed her to that point, you know?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Okay, so, and then on October 25th, 3 days before she went missing, Stacy asked a family friend, Pam, if she could rent a property, saying, I have to get out of here, I'm not feeling very safe. I'm afraid he's going to hurt me.
Uh-huh.
So get her out of there. This makes no sense. Okay, sorry. I'm going to contain myself.
Yeah.
Okay, October 27th, Stacy's sister Cassandra came over for dinner. She said Drew came in looking very angry, and after he went to work, Cassandra made plans to do something with Stacy the next morning. I think she and maybe Pam and Stacy were supposed to go paint somebody's house or do something along those lines.
Okay.
So Drew went back to work, and then that night before Cassandra left, Stacy hugged her and said, "I love you. If anything happens to me, he killed me. It wasn't an accident."
I feel like that happens so often in all these cases. Like they give you their murderer.
I know.
Okay.
And nobody did anything.
Yeah.
Okay. So, the next day, Stacy went missing.
Okay.
Drew's story was he came in from work around 3 a.m., talked to her briefly, went to sleep. At 10 a.m., Pam called Stacy about getting together to paint, and Stacy said she was still in bed. So she got her. She got through to her at 10 a.m.
Okay.
Stacy said she was still in bed and she would come over later to do the painting. At 11 a.m., Drew claims he saw her for the last time and she was gone when he woke up. So he got in at 3 a.m., said, hey, went to sleep. He woke up briefly around 11.
Uh-huh.
Which is 8 hours.
8 hours, yeah.
Briefly saw her, and then she was gone, and he went back to sleep. He did not hear from her and did not care that he had not heard from her until 9 p.m. that night when she supposedly called him to say she was leaving him for someone else, had taken her passport and everything, and had left her car at the local airport. So then Cassandra, her sister, spoke to Drew at 11:30 p.m. that night. She said that he was out of breath and rustling his keys, and he said, she's left me. She went with another man. She went to the Bahamas or something, took her bikini, the passport's missing, and she took money. Which all sounds good and well until you find out all the other stuff. Okay, so meanwhile, Pam and Cassandra's timeline says that they had tried to reach her all day and she hadn't picked up her phone at all, which was not like her. The day that Stacy disappeared, Drew also called in sick to work. Which was odd.
Incriminating.
So, yes, very incriminating. On November 9th, the police department started looking at Drew officially as a suspect.
Okay, the police department that he worked for?
Yes.
Okay.
He was still employed there.
Okay.
Keep that in mind. So he had all these people that were vouching for him, saying he would never hurt anybody. He was a wonderful police officer. Great guy. But Stacy had been missing at this point for, 12, 13 something days? Again, math.
Yeah.
And they were just now suspecting him as a suspect. Something that happened along the same time, when they realized that Drew might be a suspect, they started investigating something else that was quite chilling. The mysterious fate of the previous Mrs. Peterson.
Aha!
Okay, so it turns out, in the 2 years prior to Drew marrying Stacy, Kathleen Savio had called the cops for 17 accounts of domestic violence related sort of situations. Most of them involved custody issues, like him not showing up to bring the kids back when he was supposed to, or wanting more time with them, whatever. But there were several cases where I believe he actually reported her for battery, but then she even filed an order of protection against him.
Okay.
All of this is going on while he's having a child with Stacy Peterson.
Okay.
I don't know if Stacy knew about this stuff, but...
Well, and again, like, even if she did, she's so young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was 19 when they got married.
Right. She hasn't lived enough life yet to maybe understand.
Right.
The choices that she's making.
Right. All of the claims against Kathleen that she was being abusive were dropped. Like, they investigated them and they found her not guilty.
Okay.
Obviously. So he was, like, trying to throw some shade at her. And then she reported one menacing instance. She said at one point she was coming down the stairs with a basket of laundry, and Drew was at the bottom of the stairs in a SWAT outfit wielding a knife.
Okay.
They weren't married. Like, they were not living together. He was with Stacy at this point. He apparently held the knife to her throat and was furious he had to pay so much child support.
Yeah.
She told him, you go ahead and kill me. Just go ahead and do that now. But he pulled away and left. Kathy filed a police report, but said she didn't want Drew arrested or another order of protection. Why?
Yeah.
Now, I found out why. Apparently, he had convinced everyone that she was crazy and mentally ill.
Oh.
So he had been spreading around that she was psycho, and I think she felt like if she did that against him, it would maybe impugn her.
Yeah, and he's got the whole law enforcement thing on his side.
Exactly.
I mean, like, you almost become untouchable.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so apparently March 1st, 2004, 3 years before Stacy was murdered or whatever happened to her. We don't know exactly.
Yeah.
I say murder, but anyway.
Yeah.
So March 1st, 2004, Drew pulled up next to Kathy's neighbor and told him he thought something was wrong, that Kathy had not been home as he tried to drop the kids off for the past day and a half. A day and a half, and you just show up, like you didn't report it to your coworkers, nothing. Okay. So Drew had a locksmith open the door, and the neighbors, he had them go inside. She went up there. They went upstairs.
Why would he have the neighbors go inside?
Right.
That's so weird.
The neighbors went upstairs, and the female neighbor screamed. He came running in, and they found Kathy dead in a dry bathtub, face down, her hair wet. They said the neighbors said they didn't notice anything else beyond that at the time. I think they were in shock. Drew rushed in, checked her pulse, and immediately started screaming, "What am I going to tell my children?" Kathy's death was ruled an accidental drowning. Despite the fact the bathtub was empty, she had bruises on her body and an inch-long laceration on her scalp.
He must have some really good friends.
Right?
Yeah.
How? How do you let that go? Okay, so that was 2004, right?
Yep.
12 days after Stacy went missing, Jim Glasgow, remember that name,
Okay.
Will County State Attorney, exhumed Kathy's body to be re-examined. During this time, more claims of abuse surfaced about Drew Peterson. His second wife had been abused physically, and all 3 former wives had been cheated on, which ultimately led to their divorces. Which is funny to me because he's the one that was like psychopathically stalking his wives, you know, saying, "You're going to cheat on me," when he was the one who was being a cheater.
What a winner.
Right? So, and then they also found out in the early 80s, before he ever got married, he was engaged to a Kaila Peary, but she left him because he was abusive to her as well.
Good for her.
Afterwards, however, he would follow her around town, pulling her over and giving her tickets for absurd things like balding tires. She said she was freaked out and she was genuinely scared of him.
Yeah.
But she couldn't do anything because he was in such high power. He was a police officer, you know? Of course, Drew Peterson denied every allegation from every single woman. Okay, so this is where I want to read a little interview. Okay, so he apparently, during the time right after Stacy's disappearance, he was interviewed by a bunch of different people. And I'll get into more on that later. But there was one interview with, I guess, NBC that he did. So he said that he pampered 23-year-old Stacy because she loved the spotlight. Okay. And he actually said Stacy wanted what she got. Stacy wanted it. She got it. I mean, she wanted a boob job. I got her a boob job. She wanted a tummy tuck. She got that. She wanted braces, LASIK surgery, hair removal, anything. Stacy loved male attention, and she loved being anywhere and having people pay attention to her. In the interview, he goes, "Uh-huh." And Drew Peterson says, "And we did all these repairs on her. When she wanted it, she got it." And the interviewer goes, "I can't help but notice when you talk about her, you talk about her in past tense."
Oh.
And Drew Peterson goes, "No." And the interviewer says, "She loved this. She was like that. I'm just hearing it."
Yeah.
And Drew Peterson says, "That's just because she's not with me anymore. And it's past tense what she did."
Okay.
So keep in mind, this is all in like 2007, 2008. He like went on this big media tour thing in 2008 on Good Morning America.
Let's see what this
Today
guy
Show.
looks like. I just have to get like...
He looks like a fat, overweight, gray cop that's...
How did he get all these women then?
Right? He must have been charismatic. I think it was also the money.
Okay.
He was very well paid.
Drew Peterson. Oh, there's a movie.
Yeah, I think like Lifetime or something did a movie.
Okay.
But still, even with that movie, all of this was spread across the internet.
I found a picture, I think.
Yeah, that's him. Does he not look like Stephen Avery from Making a Murderer? And like a weird sort of way?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, so he's kind of got the same like grade. I don't know. He just...
Interesting. Okay.
Stacy disappeared on October 28th. On November 16th, Kathy's death is ruled a homicide.
Oh.
Yes. So even though before they'd had the coroner say, "Hey, she's got bruises and a cut on her scalp and like
I mean, he had to have called in some favors for them to not, like raise any eyebrows when she died.
And there were still people like over Kathleen's death saying, oh no, he was a wonderful husband. He would never have done anything to her. People just vouching for him left and right. Okay.
Oh, God.
Okay. So then December 10th, 2007, Reverend Shorey, who was Stacy Peterson's Reverend, tells the media that Stacy had told him back in August that her husband had killed Kathy, but the Reverend did not tell this until she disappeared, claiming she had asked the conversation to stay private.
Okay. There is a certain point where information it's necessary to pass that along.
You wait almost 2 months until she's disappeared.
Yeah.
To tell anybody this?
Yeah.
And like, where does the statute of limitation, I don't even know if that's the right term, but like, where does it come into play that this person is in danger?
Right.
She may be living with a murderer.
Right.
And you're just not going to say anything.
That's so stupid.
So, over the next year, 2007 to 2008, Drew is thoroughly investigated with a mixture of results. He fails 3 polygraph questions about the disappearance of his wife, but somehow did not show deception when he said that he had not harmed Stacy.
Interesting.
And that he did not have any involvement in Kathy's death.
Interesting. Well, he's a police officer, so he knows
that's what
the
my
ins
thought
and outs
was.
of these machines.
Exactly.
Okay.
In 2009, so this is 2 years later, Christina Rains and her children move into Drew's home as they are now engaged.
No.
So this would be 5th wife.
Come on, ladies. Come on.
However, a month later, Christina Rains claims it was publicity stunt and she moves out and breaks off her engagement with him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, somebody got smart. Okay. All this time, Drew is going on talk shows and being interviewed like he's some kind of celebrity. At some point, he retires from the police department and receives a $79,000 a year pension despite being a murder suspect.
What?
And in fact, when he turned in his retirement, his chief of police or whatever argued with him and was like, how dare you try to leave this department? And was like mad at him for trying to leave. Okay. I'm like, this dude is on trial for murdering at least one woman, if not 2. Okay. Right? I don't understand. The brotherhood must be real there. Okay. So then, this was a thing that was nearly dismissed because of hearsay. I don't even understand how it was hearsay. I tried to understand that. It did not make sense to me. So apparently, right around the time, so you had like Drew's timeline of what happened that day.
Right.
Then you had Pam and Cassandra's timeline.
Yes.
Apparently, Drew's stepbrother, Thomas Morphy, also had a timeline. And I'm going to read that to you because it's insane.
Stepbrother, like how did he fit into the equation?
I will tell you exactly how he fit in.
Okay.
On October 27th, Drew Peterson shows up at Thomas Morphy's home, ostensibly to take him to a nearby Meijer store to interview for a job. Instead, Peterson drives Morphy to the Remington Lakes Park. Peterson begins to discuss Stacy with Morphy. Peterson says that Stacy is cheating on him and states he has to take care of the problem. He asks Morphy if he loves him enough to kill for him.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind, this is October 27th. October 19th, she was having lunch with her friend Scott. Uh-huh. So did he think that she was cheating on him and that she was going to leave him?
Yeah. Okay.
So that could be the guy that he's talking about. Morphy says that he loves Drew, but that he couldn't live with himself if he killed someone. Drew asks if he could live with knowing about it. Morphy says he could, that he always assumed Drew had killed Kathleen anyway.
Oh, gosh.
This is October 27th.
Okay.
Before Kathy is even exhumed. Okay. So then Peterson drives him to a storage facility where Morphy attempts to rent a unit but lacks the required state ID. I'm not sure how old Thomas Morphy was. I probably should have looked that up. But after trying to rent some storage unit, he then takes Morphy home. A few hours later, Morphy calls Peterson and says he can't be involved in Peterson's plan. Peterson says he can respect that. Okay?
Okay. This is all just from his stepbrother.
Yes.
Thomas.
This is everything Thomas Morphy was saying. Okay, so this was from Thomas Morphy, but it was also from Thomas Morphy's friend, Walter Martinek, who claimed that Thomas called and basically confessed all of this.
Okay.
Okay. And you'll hear more about that in the timeline.
All right.
Okay,
well, at least it's 2 people.
Yeah.
That are,
right?
Corroborating. Thank you. I would have never gotten that.
See, English. I can do English.
Yes.
Okay, October 28th, the day Stacy goes missing. Peterson shows up at Morphy's home. They get coffee at a Starbucks drive-thru, and then Peterson drives him to a park off Weber Road. Peterson hands Morphy a cell phone, instructing him not to answer it. After 45 minutes, the phone rings a few times, displaying Stacy as the caller. One of the times that the phone rang was 9:07 p.m., and it is pocket answered, and the call lasts a few minutes. Within an hour of the calls, Peterson returns to the park, picks up Morphy. He asks Morphy to help him move something. Now, I'm thinking he took him there because if they tried to triangulate the cell, they would see that she was in a park. Right? Okay. Mm-hmm. So,
see, he knows the ins and outs. He knows what to do to get away with this.
Exactly. So they drive to Peterson's house where the children's bedroom doors are closed, and Peterson tells him to be quiet. Peterson pushes a blue container out of his bedroom. Morphy helps Peterson carry the container down the stairs out of the house and into the Denali, which was his car. So at some point, Peterson gives Morphy some money. Peterson then drives Morphy home and tells him this never happened.
Okay.
Shortly before 10, Morphy visits his friend. So this is right after Peterson drops him off, right after the phone calls and the moving of the blue container.
Morphy said he didn't want to be involved.
Exactly.
Okay.
Shortly before 10, Morphy visits his friend Walter Martinek and tells him that he thinks he has just helped dispose of Stacy's body.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what you did, Tommy.
Yep. October 29th, Morphy speaks to Peterson on the phone and tells him that he wants to hang himself. Peterson tells him not to worry. That night, Morphy begins drinking and calls a brother who advises him to speak up to the FBI. Morphy hangs up and overdoses on prescription pills.
Oh.
The brother calls 911. Morphy is taken to the Edward Hospital in Naperville.
Naperville.
Gotcha. Thanks. October 30th, Peterson shows up at Morphy's house. Morphy's girlfriend answers the door. She tells him about Morphy's suicide attempt. Peterson drives to the hospital and speaks with Morphy. But Morphy does not recollect this visit very well.
Yeah, okay. It's going through something.
Yeah. Martinek arrives at Morphy's house and drives Cheryl Alcox, who is Morphy's girlfriend, to the police headquarters in Crest Hill. State police show up at the hospital after Peterson leaves. And then on October 31st, Tom Morphy is offered an immunity deal by none other than Will County State's Attorney James Glasgow, who also exhumed Kathy's body.
Uh-huh.
ISP record a phone call from Peterson to Morphy in which Peterson orders Morphy not to talk to the press or the police and warns him about discussing things on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow all of that was tossed out until, I think it was 2012.
Okay.
That actually came into play.
Well, what happened to the blue container?
They have no idea. They cannot find it. Now, Cassandra claimed that she saw a blue container in the Petersons' garage days before Stacy's disappearance.
Uh-huh.
Drew says...
He was prepping.
Yeah. Drew says that no container ever existed.
Well, it's 2 against 1, sir.
I know. Okay, so then that was all in 2009, right?
Yeah.
On September 6, 2012, 3 years after his media tour and all of that crap went down, Peterson is finally found guilty of murdering Kathleen Savio. He is sentenced to 38 years of prison for murdering his third wife.
Uh-huh.
Then, on February 9th, 2015, he is given an additional 40 years for attempting to hire a hitman to kill James Glasgow.
Wait, whoa.
The lead prosecutor in his murder trial and the one who had made the immunity deal with Tom Morphy.
What?
Stacy's body is still missing. Drew Peterson has not been charged with her murder, though they keep saying they're close. They never actually do anything about it.
Yeah.
His lawyer claims to know what happened to her, but is using attorney-client privilege to refuse to tell the truth until Drew Peterson eventually passes away. Now, one other thing that I found, her sister Cassandra said at one point, there's a Chicago sanitary and ship canal near the area. And I guess it's just like a body of water. I don't know if it connects to the ocean or a bigger river or what. But apparently when Stacy originally went missing, they searched a portion of that canal thinking they were going to find her body. And I think that they got one picture of a blue container or some kind of container.
Interesting.
But they never could find it. I don't know how they got the picture. But anyway, so then in 2018... Cassandra was trying to start a GoFundMe. Well, she did start a GoFundMe to try and raise the funds to have somebody go in and search that canal thoroughly. She said that she had sonar images of a body and like hair that was the length of Stacy's hair, and that she just knows she's there. She says when she's there, which this is like the paranormal part, when she's there at the canal, she feels peace because she knows that Stacy knows she's there.
Interesting. Okay. I mean, I don't dispute that.
Yeah. Charles Pelkey, a spokesman for Will County State's Attorney James Glasgow, did not respond directly to Kail's comments, but said the case does remain a priority for investigators. And that they basically said if she actually has these images that shows this body, all she would have to do is come to the police department, show them to the police department, and they would do another investigation. So it's like, if she has these, then why?
I don't know. I mean, maybe she's just like a little gun shy, though, with all that's happened already, you know,
it
with the
could
police
be.
department. I don't know.
She said, it's not justice for me, it's not justice for her, and definitely not justice for her children.
Well, that's the truth.
So.
Well, you say it's unsolved, but I mean, it's basically solved.
How he is not on death row is beyond me. I want to go prosecute the man myself.
Yeah, right? I mean, he's got what? How many years? 30-something?
Well, he's 36 for Kathleen's death and 40 for attempting to kill James Glasgow.
I mean, at least we have the solace of knowing that he won't be on this side of the bars anytime, you know, in his lifetime. Well,
he's going to die in prison.
Yes.
But he still needs to take responsibility. And I believe he's told that attorney that he did take Stacy's life.
Right.
There was even, there wasn't much information on this, so I didn't really throw it in here. But there was a woman that he started talking to from prison, flirting with, sending love letters, all this stuff. And she had like a house fire that a bunch of these letters burned down in, and she wrote him about it. And he was like, oh, well, you can have Stacy's clothes.
Okay.
And she said, after that, I got smart and I left.
Yeah. PSA, ladies, if you're listening, if you have any desire to reach out to or maybe are contacted somehow by a man named Drew Peterson.
Or any man in prison, truthfully.
Yeah, just run, okay?
Seriously.
You can do better.
Especially if he's had 4 wives, 2 of which are dead or missing.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not going to throw it as a blanket statement. I'm sure there are, you know, many men behind bars that could be suitable, but Drew Peterson, no, ladies, no.
Well, and you know, Ted Bundy, he had that woman that he was friends with prior to, and like all these women have been murdered, and he was on trial for it, and she was still touting and like telling the media how in love she was, and like he was so innocent.
Had his child.
People are crazy. And Stephen Avery, he had women that were like marrying him while he was in prison. Like, what is it about jailbirds that women are so attracted to?
I mean, I don't even want to speculate because I have no idea.
Seriously, yeah. So anyway, do you guys think that Drew Peterson is the guilty party, or did she just leave and disappear and forget her children and go off with some man to the Bahamas in a bikini?
I mean, no, but I'm sure if she was going to leave him, she would have to leave all traces of herself because of who he was and what he could do. You know?
But I still think she would have contacted Cassandra in some form.
Well, sure. Yeah,
I mean, that was her sister. By the way, I didn't mention this because it wasn't necessarily important to the case, but she lost another sister a year before she disappeared to cancer.
What a life. Jeez.
Yeah, she had it rough.
Yeah. Well, her poor parents.
I know.
And child.
So that's my saga that I discovered last night at midnight.
Right. Well, mine has been solved.
Okay, good.
Indeed.
Ending on a happier note, maybe.
No, but at least there's closure. So,
yes. Closure.
So my story is called The Richardson Family Murders.
Oh.
And also The Werewolf Murderer.
What? Oh my God. Oh, wait. I think I found this when I was... Okay, yeah.
Did you read about it?
The werewolf part, yes, I think. Unless there's 2 werewolf murders.
Wouldn't it be funny if there was? So this happened in April 2006 in Medicine Hat, Canada.
Okay.
So, again, I have it all written out. I'm going to try and not read it.
It's so hard, though.
It's very hard.
You want to get everything right.
Exactly. So, okay, April 26th. A friend of Jacob's, which is the son in the story, he was 8 years old, came to the family home on April 23rd, 2006, looking to play. He wanted to, I watched a little documentary and he had a little soccer ball coming, wanting, Jacob to come outside and play. When nobody answered the door, the boy looked through the window and apparently he saw a body and ran home to tell his mom, who immediately called the police.
Well, good for him. Bad for him too.
Jeez, yeah. So the police came to the home. They found the mother, Deborah, in the basement, stabbed many times. Near her was Mark, her husband, who had also been stabbed many times, but he had a bloody screwdriver next to him, which shows that he had fought back.
Yeah.
Upstairs, sweet little Jacob, 8 years old, was in his room. He had been stabbed in the back and his throat had been slit.
Okay, good question. Why did they not take the bloody screwdriver away? Would that not have DNA on it?
This didn't take long to solve.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Because of the bloody screwdriver.
Nope, surprisingly.
Oh my God.
Okay. So while they were in the home investigating all the murderers and, they were processing the bodies, one of the officers noticed a family portrait and it had an additional child in the portrait that was unaccounted for. They initially believed that this daughter, Jasmine,
this is the story.
12 years old, had been kidnapped. So they sent out an Amber Alert for her, and they started to do, a big investigation to try and find her because that was the main priority at the time. So they went to her school. They looked inside her locker, and they found an incriminating drawing, which was her and no. It was her parents and brother in the house burning, and she had murdered them, and she was leaving with her boyfriend in her boyfriend's truck. So because of this drawing and a few other things, she became the main suspect. So
how stupid are you?
She's 12. So
12? I did not hear that part.
I'm sorry. Yes, 12 years old. Yes.
Well, okay, this is why 12-year-olds should not be allowed to date.
Okay, yeah. Especially when her boyfriend was a man named Jeremy Stank. I believe his name's
Stank.
Stanky.
There's your first sign.
23 years old.
Ew, no. That's almost 12 years older than her.
Isn't that nasty? Yeah.
That's so illegal.
Yeah. So they'd found this drawing in her locker, and they'd also, kind of hacked her computer and her online accounts and found out, that they had been emailing and talking back and forth, which is how they found out about him and their relationship. Little background on Jasmine and Jeremy. So Jasmine was 11 at the time that she met Jeremy at a rock concert.
No!
Yeah. She had apparently put it out there that she was 15, but still.
Okay, this is Canada. Do they have different laws than the America?
Oh, I'm sure they don't.
Okay.
I'm sure not. They do have different laws for prosecuting, which are going to be sad and interesting later on here. So anyway, 11 at the time, she met him at a rock concert. And up until that time, she was described as a happy-go-lucky, preteen. And she went to a private, I can't remember if it was a Catholic school or a Christian school. Private school. Okay. Yeah. After meeting Jeremy, Jasmine began to embrace her goth side. She began wearing dark clothes and makeup, and she described herself, are you ready for this? As bisexual, Wiccan, nocturnal, awkward, a deep thinker, and insane.
Oh, Lord.
I know. Her hobbies included dark poetry, criminal psychology, blood. Grandma, if you're listening, please stop listening. Kinky shit, and human anatomy.
Oh my God, he had a horrible influence on her.
I'm sorry, but when I was 11,
I didn't even know what any of that was.
My main hobby was climbing trees and reading books.
I played with Polly Pockets. Okay.
Yeah. Who are too big to fit in your actual pocket.
Seriously.
And that's why I really hated Polly Pocket. I just want to throw that out there. Very upset about Polly Pocket. Thanks for bringing that up, Kaila.
Sorry, that's a sore subject.
So she also listed, I think this was all on her website that they found online. She listed her idols as serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer and singer Marilyn Manson.
Was this website like MySpace?
No, it was.
I just wondered because that was about the time era of MySpace.
Shoot, I don't think I wrote it down. It was some sort of vampire website. Okay. For real. And it still exists to this day.
What?
I found out. Yes, this website.
Did you look it up?
I'll post it for... No, I didn't. No.
I would have been all over that crap. Oh my God.
We can look it up later.
We are going to.
So, Jeremy, a little bit about him. His nickname was Werewolf. He had a harder upbringing. His mother was an alcoholic, and she had a partner who would abuse him quite a bit, which was, it's sad. He was also bullied at school and had attempted suicide prior to meeting Jasmine.
He was dark.
Yeah. He began to believe he was I'm so sorry for laughing. He began to believe he was a 300-year-old werewolf who liked the taste of blood. He even wore a vial of blood around his neck.
This is so much more vampire than werewolf. Did he get his paranormal entities mixed up?
He was even on a website for vampires. So.
Like werewolves shapeshift. They don't suck your blood.
Jeremy wasn't the brightest crayon in the box by any means. Okay. I found the website. He had an account on vampirefreaks.com and also took part in the goth lifestyle.
This makes no sense.
I know. On the website, his interests were listed as scarification, pain, grandma, please stop listening, kinky fetishes, blood, and razor blades.
This is like before the time of Christian Grey, but like leading up to the time of Christian Grey, if you know what I mean.
Yes. All right. When Jasmine's parents found out that their daughter was dating a 23-year-old man, they obviously weren't happy, and they forbade her from seeing him. This enraged the two, Romeo and Juliet style, and they continued their relationship online. Over time, the two conspired to kill Jasmine's family so that they could be together.
Oh my God. I mean, I had a bad boyfriend when I was in high school, but I didn't plan to kill my family over it.
I mean, that's not where, you naturally go. Mm-mm. This was a special case. So investigators found their conversations, and at one point Jasmine said, "I have this plan. It begins with me killing them and ends with me living with you."
Ew. This was her idea?
It was her idea. Mm-hmm. Jeremy, like I said, not the brightest.
She got like possessed or something.
Maybe, but he was really her pawn in this.
Yeah.
Okay, Jeremy told her that he liked the plan, but they needed to work out the details.
You're just a little immature. It's okay, though. Yeah. We're going to go with it.
I got this. Oh, he also wrote this poem that I'm going to read to you because it is literary. It's a masterpiece. Are you ready?
Okay.
Payment. My lover's rents are totally unfair. They say they really care. They don't know what is going on. They just assume. As their greed continues to consume, she is slowly going insane. She continues to think that I came into her life to help her out and just stop what they keep trying to shout. It's all total bullshit. Their throats I will slit. They will regret the shit they have done, especially when I see to it that they are gone. They shall pay for their insolence. Finally, there will be silence. Their blood shall be payment.
Oh my God, the way it started, I was like fighting laughter.
That's very serious, Kaila.
I know, and it's really sad because it's actually like an admission to murder.
I know, he's so stupid.
But it's so gross and weird.
I just want to I want to make a disclaimer that the only funny part in this is the ignorance and the stupidity of these two young kids. It is beyond sad what happened to her family. It shouldn't have happened. It was unnecessary. It was stupid.
Okay, but I would like to point out, Jeremy is not a young kid. I was married when I was 21 years old. This dude is 23. He should not be acting this way.
Well, 100%. I don't think he was mentally 23, but yes. So anyway.
No, he was mentally 300.
So true. So the only funny parts are the stupidity of this couple. Okay,
and the fact
this
that he
Romeo
thought he was
and
a
Juliet.
werewolf.
Yes,
but he was on vampirefreaks.com.
Exactly. Okay. The night before the murder, the two had watched the movie Natural Born Killers, which is a movie about a couple who kill people across America. He said that this was the greatest love story. I'm sorry. Okay.
We shouldn't be laughing this much, but oh my God.
All right.
Did they watch it for inspiration, or was it just like...
It was. Yes.
It just kind of like urged them to go forward.
I mean, I don't know.
Who knows? Ew.
So the night of the murder, Jeremy entered the home through a basement window that he broke, and it was loud enough that Deborah, the mother, came down to check it out.
Did she not have a key? She lived there, the daughter. Why?
She was in the house at this time.
So
I told you they weren't that smart.
Open the dang door.
I know. Okay.
I don't want to say that I'm a smarter murderer, but
I've watched enough CSI.
Seriously.
Okay. So the mother was killed immediately, multiple stab wounds. Mark came down in a rush to protect his family as he'd heard his wife's murder. He grabbed a screwdriver, on the way down, and ultimately died from multiple stab wounds as well. Jasmine, this was so sad. I hate this part. Jasmine was upstairs with her brother when Jeremy joined them. Jacob was begging for his life and saying that he didn't want to die, that he was too young to die. But Jasmine grabbed him from behind and stabbed him in the chest. Oh, I'm sorry. I said earlier it was the back. Stabbed him in the chest while Jeremy slit his throat. God. It was said, I read it again, like you, I had to research at multiple platforms. And on one of the websites, it said that Jeremy had said, I did all this for you. You need to contribute. Okay, so that's why she did the stabbing. The officers who later went on the scene said that it was so gruesome that every inch of the boy's room had blood splatter on it, including all of his little toys. The scene caused the investigators to tear up in court years later as they remembered the images. Jasmine later said that she felt she had to kill Jacob because he was so young and sensitive and wouldn't do well without his parents.
Yet she was, 13? 12?
At the time of the murder, she was 12. She was 12, yes. So the two fled the scene, and just hours after the murders, they were laughing and eating in a restaurant. So remorse. There was no remorse in this. They were arrested and charged on April 24th, 2006 in Leader, Saskatchewan, 80 miles away from Medicine Hat. They were laughing and cuddling in Jeremy's car at the time of the arrest. So, fun fact, Jeremy proposed to Jasmine in their letters back and forth while in prison. Jasmine accepted. I don't know if it was ever legally bound, but...
Yeah.
All right, so this is where it kind of wraps up. During the trial, Jasmine was found to be the youngest person ever convicted of murder in Canada. She was sentenced to the maximum of 10 years in prison. In Canada, they are big on minor reformation. Wasn't that the right word? Rehabilitation. Minor rehabilitation.
There's going to be a lot of rehab to fix that brain.
Yes. So her sentence, even though it was 10 years, she would spend 4 of those years in a psychiatric hospital and 4 years under supervised probation. She was released in 2016, but she did attend college in 2012, like on her probation.
Imagine being her roommate.
Yes. Oh, let me tell you a little bit about that too.
Wait, what?
Her lawyer and doctors believe that she was able to be rehabilitated and become a productive member of society. Others believe this was a facade and that she had pulled the wool over everyone's eyes. Which I believe also, because...
She's already a chameleon. She just went from like innocent 11-year-old to suddenly a murderer at 12.
Exactly. And when you don't have remorse up until the point that you're prosecuted, that shows that you're just doing it to get what you want.
Exactly.
She told the court she was in a zombie-like state while Jeremy killed her family and that she could not stop him. Jasmine also admitted to discussing killing her parents to her friends and Jeremy, but meant it only as a joke. And they interviewed her friends also, and they said that, yeah, she had talked about this, but they thought that she was joking too. Jeremy showed no remorse during his trial and pleaded not guilty, although he confessed to the murders repeatedly and also to an undercover cop. Oh my God. Okay, this is my favorite part. Are you ready? He was sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences, which is going to be a long time since he's an immortal werewolf.
Okay. I would just like to point out, if he were a werewolf, there would be no need for screwdrivers or anything else if he wanted to murder someone.
He was apparently showing off his injuries after the murder because the father had fought back and I guess wounded his eye, and he was showing off to the court. I went on Reddit because Reddit is the best place to go to find updates on things that can be found nowhere else on the internet. Yeah. And she I guess, changed her name. Jasmine did, because she's still in Canada, you know.
Yeah, she didn't want that following her.
Right.
She's trying to be someone else.
Right. And so one person said, I swear that I've seen her in my hometown. She is now with her boyfriend who's a drug dealer, and she deals with him or whatever. So like he's seen her many times.
I thought she went to college.
She did. Yeah. But anyway, so I mean, who knows if it's actually her? He's like, you know, she's changed her name, but she looks just like the pictures. So
do you have a picture of her? I think I know what he looked like, but I can't remember.
Yep.
Didn't he wear like dark eyeliner and crap?
He did, and had like really cut close hair.
Yeah. I mean, you know, infatuation with a person can be a strong motivator and a driving force. I mean, I know there was like this dude that I dated that I went like punk for because I thought that's what he liked.
Yeah.
But I never would murder my family over
I mean, honestly. So here's a picture of her.
Beautiful.
She's gorgeous. Yes. Also, if I've said the wrong last name, I apologize. I feel like I've been saying Jasmine Robertson. Her name's Jasmine Richardson. So it's everybody's last name was Richardson. Just so that's clear. But yeah, that's her and her boyfriend.
Oh my God. He's such a freak.
Well, and here's another.
Why would she be attracted to that?
Picture of her.
Oh, that's dark.
Yeah.
Should I pull up the website?
Sure.
What is it? Vampirefreaks.com?
You know it. Good memory. You stored that in your memory bank right away.
How could I not? I'm a Twilighter. Twihard.
Oh my God. Is it there? I'm so excited.
Oh, the first article is World of Weird, the San Quentin testicle transplants. What does that have to do with vampires?
Grandma, if you're listening. I'm just kidding.
Oh, wow. It's kind of like a murder mystery site now.
Interesting.
This looks nothing like... Ooh, but it is a forum, so I can now see how she... I wonder if you like have your own individual... Yeah, because you can like log in. You can log in with Facebook now.
Yeah, they missed out on that golden opportunity there.
Ooh, and they have top-rated girls.
You know what? We'll have to dig into this site and see what it's all about.
I don't want us to be on this site anymore.
You're like, I have to erase all my history right now
Seriously.
because I don't want that recorded anywhere.
Some girl posted a picture of her wearing magnetic eyelashes.
Oh, that's another thing that I don't get.
So, don't go joining vampire forums because that is a sure way to get in trouble.
Oh, God. So, I hope we delivered for you guys on our first ever true crime episode. But it's not over yet.
No.
I have a fun little game.
And I know nothing about this other than it has to do with murder.
It does. So I am going to challenge Kaila to...
Why am I always the victim?
I'm so sorry. I'm going to challenge Kaila to the serial killer's last words game.
And you guys can play along with this too.
100%. I will give you all the options, and we'll give you enough time to choose.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I have a little twist to the game.
Okay.
Every option, there's multiple choice, so you get A, B, and C options with every question.
Okay.
I tried to pick the most well-known serial killers who have been executed so that you will hopefully know who they all are. But every option is some murderer's last words. Does that make sense? They're
like
not
multiple people said this?
So, like, my first question are, what were Ted Bundy's last words?
Oh, okay.
But all of the options are someone's last words.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it is somebody's. It just may not necessarily be Ted Bundy's.
Right. But you have to pick Ted's.
Okay.
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 So, question 1, what were Ted Bundy's last words? Ted Bundy raped and killed an unknown number of women during the 1970s. A, I'd like you to give my love to my family and friends. B, beam me up. C, you can be a king or a street sweeper, but everyone dances with the Grim Reaper. Oh my gosh.
What
was
a
that,
poet.
Jeremy?
Right? That's what I was thinking.
Do you want me to read him one more time?
I think his was give my love to my family and friends.
Ding, 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 ding,
I
ding,
was?
ding, ding.
Yes. I just watched the Evil, Wicked, Vile, whatever that movie title is.
Yes.
And I thought I remember them saying that.
Good job. Number 2. What were Jeffrey Dahmer's last words? He raped and killed 17 men and boys in the 1980s. A, hurrah for anarchy. This is the happiest moment of my life. B, freedom, freedom at last. It's been a good one. Or C, I don't care if I live or die. Go ahead and kill me.
That feels like Jeffrey Dahmer. Was it C?
Did you research these?
I did not.
Ding, 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 ding.
I just feel like that's somebody that he has no respect for life.
Mm-hmm.
So he really wouldn't care about his own.
Ain't true. Ain't that true?
Isn't he the one who ate people too? Jeffrey Dahmer? I'm fairly certain he ate his victims, and I think he even may have served them to one of his friends.
I think you are right. I think you're right. I didn't put that in there, but I think you're right.
Unfortunately.
I know. 3. What were John Wayne Gacy's last words?
Ooh, this was the Pisces serial killer on that one list. Ooh.
Yes, he was known as the Killer Clown.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Sorry. I don't know much about him. I do know that name, but that's it.
Yeah. He raped and murdered 33 men in a 6-year span. A. I have nothing to say. B. Kiss my ass. C. Go Raiders.
Are you kidding me? I have absolutely no idea on this one. I would say I have nothing to say. If it was Go Raiders, I swear to God.
It was Kiss my ass.
Oh, okay.
What were Eileen Wuornos's last words? Do you know who she was?
I do not.
She was the female serial killer who worked as a sex worker along Florida's highways. She was in the movie Monster with Charlize Theron.
Okay. Theron?
Her.
Okay.
So, A, somebody needs to kill my trial attorney. B, I'll be back.
Isn't that Arnold Schwarzenegger?
C, this is not a loss. This is a win.
Oh my God. Any of them. She had balls. Let's see. Someone needs to kill my trial attorney.
No, but that is a good one. I'll be back.
Are you kidding me?
Yes.
Wow. She
All right.
had just apparently watched Terminator.
Well, it was like a whole spiel, and that was the last sentence in her whole spiel.
Very foreboding. I like it.
Yes, and it had to do with Jesus and all this stuff.
It
and so,
honey, I don't think you saw Jesus.
I just put that little bit in there. All right, last question. What were Timothy McVeigh's last words? He was the Oklahoma City bomber.
Oh, okay.
A. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. B. Turn up the radio and I'll go quietly. C. I'd rather be fishing.
I think A.
Yes.
Who said B? Because that sounds very familiar. Turn up the radio and I'll go quietly.
Peter Manuel.
Oh, I don't know why that sounded familiar. I don't know who that is. That's crazy.
So you got 1, 2, 3 out of 5 right.
Wow.
That's pretty good. I mean,
I'm so glad that I know what they all said right before they died. Oh my goodness.
Oh, that was a fun little game. I like that.
That was fun.
Yeah. On Instagram, I said this is the most like the most devious game that we could possibly think of to play, but it's interesting. I've researched on my own like last words of criminals and like last meals because that also fascinates me.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
I love reading what they have for their last meals.
Maybe that'll be like our next true crime game.
That'd be fun.
That'd be fun.
Nobody go research. We got to do this completely blind.
Yeah. Forget we said that.
I'll edit it out.
There you go.
Well, serial killers are incorrigible.
They are, but fascinating to read about.
They are. I don't know why it's so fascinating.
I think it's because as people, we want to put ourselves in the headspace of other people, you know, like especially, you know, when we're empathetic, we want to like understand what people are going through and their motives and stuff.
Yeah.
But I cannot wrap my head around like serial killers and what it would take to actually end somebody's life. I think that is.
And I think part of the reason that I love watching these documentaries is because you get to see them get what's coming to them a lot of times. Mm-hmm. Because usually they don't do a documentary on a serial killer unless he's been captured or killed or whatever.
Right.
You know, the unsolved ones are really, really hard because sometimes you're like, arrest the person. Like my story, you know, like there's no closure there.
No.
But these big documentaries that are coming now on Netflix and Hulu and all that, they have everything compiled, and it's just kind of fascinating to watch the downfall of like Ted Bundy or, you know, whoever. Mm-hmm. So,
I mean, I think it's just our way of trying to understand these people. So.
And we're also, I mean, it's just human nature to kind of be fascinated with the macabre, you know?
It really is. 100%. Yeah.
So we hope y'all enjoyed that.
Yes, please. Again, next week, we really want to do listener stories. Send in your stories. Anything out of the ordinary. We would love to hear about it.
Creepy, unnatural, paranormal, true crime, whatever you got.
Indeed. I hope this didn't make you too paranoid. Even still, lock your doors. This is a real threat now. You know what I mean? Like before, it's just like, maybe. But like now, you know what? Just maybe give yourself a little extra glance over the shoulder before going in your car and places. Don't be distracted by your phone.
Get that security system installed if you've been thinking about it.
Yes. So good luck sleeping.
Good luck sleeping.